Call it what it is, a system of intensifying great power rivalry where the most powerful pursue their interests using economic integration as coercion.
Welcome to the Message Gets Through podcast, a podcast from the folks here at reVerb Communications in Edmonton, Alberta, Canada, where we toss around examples of media or messages that make their mark, messages that cut through the noise, and what we can all learn from them. This episode is all about what we might call Prime Minister Mark Carney's Davos and Goliath speech at the recent World Economic Forum in Switzerland. I'm Glenn Kubish, I'm the creative lead here. Today in this task, I'm joined by two of my crack colleagues here at reVerb, Communications Associate Roberta Director of Business Development Rachel Ray. What was the speech about? Well, it was about a lot of things, actually. It's about what sovereignty means now. It was a meditation on power. It's a game plan for middle powers. It was a history lesson. I mean, we met Thucydides and Václav Havel. It was a lot more. But it was not just about something, it was something. Equal parts content and performance, fact and poetry. It was a speech. It was an action. It was a deed. So friends, this is not a partisan podcast. It's a communications podcast. In our advanced digital age, there still may be no more fundamental means of communication than the good old-fashioned in-person stream to the world speech. Did this speech deliver, and what message got through? Rachel, let's start with you.
He spoke to something that people don't normally say out loud of, we are not American, we are Canadian, we're really proud of our heritage, and we want to be acknowledged. So he spoke to what people were thinking, and I think that's why the message really carried. He said things that normally Canadians don't say.
I would say this was a great example of rhetoric done right. It had, the ethos, the pathos, the logos, the things that you're looking for, and it kind of...
You slipped in some Greek there that I can't let go by. Ethos, pathos, logos. Explain more.
So ethos, you've got like the character or spirit. Pathos is like you're appealing to your audience. There were multiple audiences to be considered here. He's speaking to an international body, but that message came home to Canadians. And so he played that really well. And then, the logos, it's like this philosophy is, why is he doing this? And it's because the world is changing very fast. And instead of reacting to what's to come, he's establishing a path forward for Canada. He had a very clear foreign policy that was introduced to the world.
What makes for a good speech?
Know your audience and know your purpose.
That is the most important thing to consider, that audience. Yeah.
Okay, so apply that to the speech that we're talking about.
He's on the international stage, which is very interesting. So he's speaking to Canadians. He's absolutely speaking to Americans or the American government, and he's speaking to potential allies in all of this. So the messaging has to hit to say, we're open for business. I've got it covered, Canada, and the U.S., we're going to put a message through all in a very succinct way without breaking that apart.
Do you think one of the audiences he may have been speaking to, maybe not a primary or secondary audience, but do you think he was aiming any of his comments at potential floor-crossing MPs back home who might say, yeah, that's the leader I want, and give him the majority that he's looking for?
We're not really at that point where we're picking it apart like that. But yeah, I think he is appealing there.
What was your favorite part of the speech?
Boots on the ground, boots on the ice.
To further secure the alliance's northern and western flanks, including through Canada's unprecedented investments in over-the-horizon radar, in submarines, in aircraft, and boots on the ground, boots on the ice.
That was clever. That appealed to the very Canadian part of me that says we're tough, we can handle the cold, and I thought it was a clever play on words.
It sounded like it was on the spot.
I think so.
He was reading from a prompter, obviously, but there's something about that extemporaneous comment that just makes the technology go away. I like that part too. Did you have a favorite part?
I think that if you're not at the table, you're on the menu type thing.
The middle powers must act together because if we're not at the table, we're on the menu.
He's using very visual words to try and, drive the point home, and it sticks with you.
Are there parts that didn't work?
The content of the speech, I think, is open to some scrutiny. I think that, he was playing into a very emotional thing that Canadians have been feeling. We do feel like tariffs kind of came out of nowhere, and it really stands to mess with our economic, stability. But I don't know. I think it is a political issue, and I think that he comes from a very international background in terms of boards that he served on. He was with the Bank of England. He's a big proponent of the World Economic Forum, which I know has a lot of critics online.
I really liked how short it was. The speech itself was just over 17 minutes. I think there were 2,028 words in it.
Oh.
So not a lot of words.
No.
Trump's speech the next day on paper was 11,000 plus words. So help me with the math.
It's a lot.
It's a lot more.
Yeah.
I love that stat, though, because there is something to be said. I appreciate people who count their words. I think they hold a lot of value, and they should be used sparingly. And this is an example
Yes.
where a speech really was done right. And we're in a time where it's not necessarily appreciated.
I've got one other stat, and that was because I really dig short sentences. I believe that short sentences help writers of all kinds establish a rhythm that is attention-getting. 151 sentences, a mix of short, medium, and long sentences, but 30 sentences were between 2 and 5 words in length.
There is a strong tendency for countries to go along to get along, to accommodate, to avoid trouble, to hope that compliance will buy safety. Well, it won't.
Those 3 short sentences, to accommodate, to avoid trouble, it won't. I don't know, they're just like jabs in boxing. They're not meant to carry a lot of information or policy or argument. They are just effective because they get to silence quicker maybe and give you a chance to contemplate what just hit you.
I think he
What just
really,
hit you?
he's, it's just a simple thing, and he gets to the point, but that's all you have to do.
Love it.
Love it.
There you go.
Love it. No subject.
It's memorable. It's quotable. It sticks in people's minds.
You can read something and know that AI created it. You can also read something and know that it went through a focus group and rounds of testing and has been completely, numbed out to please as many people as possible. He's not trying to please people. He's trying to make a point, and he did it.
He comes from the world of finance, which is succinct. And we're trying to look at balance sheets. We're trying to see and you don't need to have a lot of fluff. What is it?
What else about the speech caught your attention?
I love the use of his metaphor at the very beginning, or alluding to the sign in the shop window.
Every morning, this shopkeeper places a sign in his window. Workers of the world unite. He doesn't believe it. No one does. But he places the sign anyway to avoid trouble, to signal compliance, to get along.
So he's quoting the story of a political dissident at the very beginning of it, and I thought that was really, really interesting. It was captivating. I do well with listening to stories to help visualize, so that got me in at the very beginning. You're going to capture me much more quickly than if you start with a policy discussion.
He's using a very traditional method of talking to people in an age where that's not something we get a lot out of. And so he relied on tried and true basics, and people just aren't used to that, and he just did it so effectively.
One of the things that a really good speech does, or a really good communication does, or story does, is show a mastery of tension and release. I mean, it's why we go on roller coasters, right? We go on roller coasters not for the feeling of getting off the roller coaster. It's for the feeling of anticipating the drop, and then dropping, and then living to tell the tale. And so that kind of dynamic, I think, is, if you X-ray successful stories, you see that everywhere. And I think that he dealt in that numerous times in the speech, but once off the top, after he just quoted Thucydides about might makes right, he says,
And this aphorism of Thucydides is presented as inevitable, as the natural logic of international relations reasserting itself. And faced with this logic, there is a strong tendency for countries to go along to get along, to accommodate, to avoid trouble, to hope that compliance will buy safety. Well, it won't.
Okay, there's some suspense. And that it won't really, for me, kind of dialed up the tension and made me wonder, okay, so what will?
He answered his question. So often, the tension is built up without any sort of release, and we're left with more questions and answers. And I think he did a good job of actually answering it too. So we left satisfied, even if we don't know every detail.
Just question for you guys. What do you think is the call to action for Canadians listening to this speech?
We need to diversify, be open. That would be my take.
I think too many speeches probably don't have calls to action, but I think there was a call to action in this. It was a call to what the Prime Minister would say would be honesty and living in reality, and the choice that we have to make about trying to be nostalgic and think that the old order is coming back versus courageously looking at where we are now and finding the opportunities there. So, which is what I think helps make a good speech as well. It or makes a good speech a great speech is that you learn where you are, what team you're on, what you believe is right or wrong, not just what you believe is factually true. Back at you. What's the call to action?
It is a great question.
Reminds me of something that you might ask.
For me, I think it was something along the lines of Canadians, if we're going to do what needs to be done in what was said in this speech, there's something about things have been comfortable. It might have to get uncomfortable. We need to be ready for that. I think there's almost an emotional preparedness for things can get dirty. Things have to change. Things can't be as they were.
He made continued use, or at least a couple times, maybe 3 times, of the word rupture.
Et je parlerai aujourd'hui de la rupture de l'ordre mondial. Let me be direct. We are in the midst of a rupture, not a transition.
The fourth turning idea that society is heading towards somewhat of a reset. Maybe it'll be a new reserve currency. Maybe it will be some new international trade organizations, digital currency, things like that. I think we're looking at a new system, and that means that something has to break down first before we can build this new thing that's to come. So I think rupture is a very intentional use.
It's aggressive.
Not break, not transformation, not transition, not evolution. He used the word rupture.
And I feel when I see it, it's either like a medical, something grotesque, or underground infrastructure. And we look at it shuts down cities where a water main breaks, and the city is
foundational breakdown.
Completely
That's what
foundational.
comes to mind for me.
It needs an entire reset. So, but it's aggressive. It's impactful.
I think when words are repeated, that's an indication that intention was there.
Yeah.
He also there's a music to his sentences as well. He likes alliteration. Here's one example. And listen for the F's.
A country that can't feed itself, fuel itself, or defend itself has few options.
A country that can't feed itself, fuel itself, or defend itself has few options. The picture that he's painting is kind of stark, but the music of it doesn't match that. Does that make it more effective or less effective on the viewer? Does it wash over you, or do you pay more attention to it because it has some music applied to it? I mean, what he's describing is Armageddon. A country that can't feed itself, fuel itself, or defend itself has few options, but he uses alliteration. Good call?
I feel more nervous upon reflection. In the moment, it feels sweeter. And upon reflection, it's terrifying, which again, it is a very interesting use of language.
Yeah, you can't pretend that just anyone can do this. I mean, there's a reason why some people can, rally their country and go to war, and why some just, fall into chaos. This guy is very, very good at what he does. He knows when a moment needs some sweetening. He knows when you have to be tough and firm with the point you're making. He's not scared to shy away from visuals, but he also knows that there has to be some poetry to show that there is a softer side to this, that, it's done with empathy. There's an art to delivering bad news. It's a bedside manner in a sense.
Now, I don't know if the World Economic Forum allows PowerPoint presentations, but this struck me as so old school. There was no screen involved. There were no look up there at words on the screen, no graphs, no maps, just the human face and human words.
We're humans. I think we're historically in tune with oral passings of information. I think that is on the evolutionary chain how we are programmed to take in things. And I mean, even to the artfulness of how he's doing it, we look at it like, Odysseys, the epic poems. It's, some brutal stuff handed down in a poetic way, and that's how we're supposed to learn and gain wisdom for making future decisions.
Final thoughts.
It's good to know we can still rely on the basics, the power of a good speech.
The best speeches that I can think of go ahead of some other world event. Those are the ones that we remember. So what is this going to go ahead of? What's going to happen? And if nothing happens, will this speech go down in history? So I kind of think of it from that. What is this setting the stage for?
I have a similar thought. I think that a great speech is a combination of the kinds of things that we've been talking about today, the great mechanics and the style and the rhythm. But I also think that a great speech happens at the right time, at the perfect time. And I mean, it's like being in an argument with your wife. Going downstairs and thinking of the line that you should have said when you were upstairs, not the right time. It's not the right time. It would have been the perfect speech, but you didn't hit the time.
Save it for the next argument.
That's right. I'm speaking hypothetically.
Of course.
Right. But I think that, and without obviously knowing what's to come, I believe that this speech happened at the right time.
It feels like it.
Okay, that's all the time we have. I appreciate your time, Rachel, Roberta, and thanks to all of you for joining in on this special edition of The Message Gets Through. We'll see you all soon.